Welcome, everyone, back to Unfiltered Vet Discussions. My name is Kelly, and I'm being joined by Phil, Jenny, and Beth. You can see all about us at unfilteredvetdiscussions.com. We are on every major podcast platform and every major social media platform. So, really, all it's waiting for is you to come and like and share our podcast with all the people you know. So that's your job. So come like and share and follow along. So today we're ruminating about the difference between appreciation and entitlement. And we decided that was a really broad topic. So we're going to cover some of it in today's podcast. No guarantee that we'll cover all aspects of entitlement and appreciation. And of course, we have stories. We always have stories. So, Jenny, why don't you kick it off?
So I think we should caveat this with we love our teams. We're not having this conversation to make anybody angry or to make anyone feel less than. My concern, so when we're recording this, Veterinary Tech Appreciation Week had just happened. And I think it is a great, wonderful idea in a way that we appreciate people who work really hard in our teams. Like I know we have Vet Tech Appreciation Week, we have Veterinary Assistant Appreciation, we have CSR Appreciation. There was a Bosses Day, which I didn't know about. That was also last week. I got, a bracelet from one of my team members. So that was actually really nice because I didn't even know that was a thing. Um, and I don't think there's a specific day for vets, is there?
Yes.
Oh,
World Veterinary Day.
Yeah. There
I
is.
think
Yeah.
it's every day that
That's
people make it.
interesting.
Honestly, it is just every day
It is.
because we're the
You're like,
best.
right. But obviously. But so anyway, so Tech Week happens, and a lot of this is coming from a practice manager standpoint. A lot of practice managers do a fair bit of work for Veterinary Technician Appreciation Week. Sometimes they turn it into Staff Appreciation Week. I hate the word staff, and I know there's a lot of people get mad because you're lumping them all together. And I do lump it together, and I know that upsets some of my techs. And I'm like, honestly, I do it because I will never remember like 4 weeks in the year. So I just do it at once. And I even have my teachers, because I have a daycare, I have my teachers get little gifts and all of this. Um, but anyways, a lot of practice managers spend their own money, spend their own time getting together these gifts. And I had my practice managers meeting yesterday where there's a group of us practice managers in the area, and we get together and we have lunch about every 6 weeks, and we talk about issues. And some of the stories that they told were really sad. Like really sad. One of them had gotten gifts for her CSRs, and one of the CSRs looked at it and goes, "This is all we get." And she spent her own money to do that. And then another clinic was complaining because this rep wants to get us bagels again. And it really was kind of concerning to me that it's really, I don't want this appreciation to become toxic. And this was not my experience. My experience this year, I've had a lot of back issues, and so I haven't been feeling very well. And so, yes, I did little things for my team, and I bought them little things. But I didn't do last year. We had a duck hunt that lasted all week throughout the clinic, and there was just a lot more. And this year, I actually told my team, I said, "You guys, I really feel like I kind of failed you. Like I set my bar pretty high." And their response to me was, "You always do a really good job. So, you set your own bar high. Like we're good." And nobody complained, and everybody was great. And I appreciate that because they get Dunkin' Donuts every Friday and they get crumble cookie every other week. And, so we do try to do things on a regular basis to say thank you. But I don't know. It really made me think of the fact that some people, and I mean this is people in general, right? Not just veterinary professionals. Some people start to become entitled and think, well, I want more. And it really hurts the people who are trying to do what they can. So that was where my idea came from for today. So Beth, did you guys do anything at your clinic for?
Yeah. We also celebrate the entire team. I find it just, to me, feels a bit more fair. It is heavily weighted towards the nurses, I will admit, but we try to include everybody. So yeah, we do something every day. Like there's some sort of meal throughout the week, every single day. And then I wore my banana costume and was Dr. Bananas on Monday morning for everyone to arrive. And I made some smoothies and muffins and things and brought them in. So, we try to celebrate them pretty well. I hide a golden snitch with like very vague clues and like we do fun stuff like that. And I have to say, like, my experience with my team where we are right now, I feel like they're very appreciative. But there have been years in the past where I've done stuff. Like I vividly remember one year and it was kind of early on and I like bought everyone mums or something and like literally three people said thank you even. And I just remember like as a practice owner, like all the time and I've like bought them personally. The practice didn't even pay for them. Like I bought them and no one said thank you. And I just remember like I took that pretty personally. I think I've grown a lot since then. And like there's a lot to, like I said before we started recording, I'm like, well, there's so much to this topic because it's such a complex issue between like doing something for the right reason, the people appreciating it and how they show appreciation, and that all being the same language. And then on the top, and a completely pivoting to like, there are clinics where they do like nothing for their team the entire year and then do this. And then, the people don't really feel appreciated. So they're sometimes like a
Yeah.
little more bitter about it. So I feel like it's such a complex thing. But I will say to speak to like my personal experience, I think my team is pretty appreciative, but we also make a point to like appreciate them the entire year. Um, and I think that is a pretty crucial piece. Not that people shouldn't still be kind and appreciative because it is icky when you do something nice and then people are like, this is all we get. But, you know, it's complex. I want to hear Phil talk about it because I know he's gonna have a lot.
No, so I mean, Beth, what you said was just so on point, and I think about like not that Carl and I's relationship is I mean, we have an amazing relationship, and I will say why. Like I love just buying her flowers randomly. We appreciate each other, and like when it comes to Valentine's Day, we actually really don't do anything.
Yeah, neither do we.
And the reason why, like, is and the florist still, like, for years the florist was like, oh, what is it? And I'm like, I don't know, it's Tuesday, and so they quit, now they quit asking. But like our anniversary, like I buy a shitload of roses and stuff like. But where I'm going with that, same thing with the staff, like just like Beth said, I think because there's so much that we're able to do. And I think what's cool is we all work in private practice. I'm not suggesting that corporate doesn't do this, but I know specifically the things that our practice does. I know what Beth does. I know what Jenny does. And it's like I get to remind them, hey guys, like nobody pays for 100% of medical insurance. Like when you start 3 months in, like no one does. Just so you know, no one does that. Like, and so these guys, they care about you as an employee, as a team member, and they want you to have that. And so like, and it's just reminding stuff like that. But we don't, yeah, I mean, we don't get it as much either. But it's also because we talk a lot about, I mean, we really do talk a lot about gratitude. And the impact that gratitude has and how that can change our perception. And I think to your point, Jenny, is like if I'm practicing gratitude, whatever I receive is an additional gift of my life. Like it's just like, oh, like no matter what the thing is, it's like I know that person spent their own money. They took time to do it. Like whatever the thing is, it's not like I'm not a 5-year-old, where my kids would say shit like that, maybe, oh, what is this piece of,
Right.
but
I
but
have to
no,
play wear this.
yeah. But what's really awesome is and I love this term, and this is what, so I get a little wonky, but in the study of gratitude, so Dr. Robert Emmons, he's like one of the foremost researchers on gratitude. When you score high on gratitude, you have less maladaptive self preoccupation. And
That's
that
a lot of,
means that is a kind and scientific way of not being a selfish son of a bitch. Is like saying like I'm gonna think of others potentially before myself. And it's like if we're practicing that, if that's one of our values in the hospital, and again, too, and we're trying to pay a living wage and we're trying to do, we're trying to do the things right. And we've throughout the year, like you both have said, like that we've shown them why they're important and why they matter. um I think it goes a long way, but it's also gratitude. Like sometimes some people are just, they're gonna be like, this is all we get, and it's like, yeah, like sorry you don't like, it's like
right.
I don't know what to, I'll have Oprah come and get you a car next time. Like I don't know what
If
what
you
to say,
make
but
that
it's
happen,
just
can you
yeah, right,
share the
yeah,
secret
right.
on contact her? People don't call me back. I don't.
But I think it's wrapped up in value. It's wrapped up in, and it's a lot of times why people will leave they leave a job and they say it's because of money. But sometimes if we don't show any other way how we appreciate someone, how much we get paid is the only thing that's the only way that I can tell that you think that I have value. And but if you're showing me, you're giving me opportunities, when my family's sick or whatever, like you give me the opportunity to be a dad, any of those things, like those all add up, over the years. So
I do
that's
think
my soapbox. Yeah.
what you said, Phil, about the idea of, right, when you first start out, you can't pay 100% of health insurance, right?
Yeah.
So when we first started, I remember the first month that we brought in $20,000, we took
Yeah.
our technician out to the movies. It was like
Yeah.
a matinee on a Sunday, and she wasn't
Yeah.
allowed to get candy or popcorn because we couldn't afford it. Like I think we went to the dollar store and
Yeah.
got like
Yeah. Yeah.
expired milk duds or
And
something
brought
like.
the big purse.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right. It was,
Tuck
yeah,
it in
Yeah. Yeah.
right.
there.
Right. Right.
Our
Right.
coats were really,
Yeah. Yeah.
but that was what we did when we made $20,000. Like we were, wow, that's
Yeah.
huge. And so we did that. And then the next month we made $30,000 and we went to the movies and we let her get popcorn. We still bought our candy because this is just a ripoff beforehand, but we let her,
Mhm.
movie theater popcorn's the best, right? When
Yeah.
we made $40,000, we took her and my parents out to dinner and we got dessert. I mean, you know, we couldn't offer any benefits at the beginning
Mhm.
because it was literally my husband, myself, my parents who were working for us for free, a technician who we paid $20,000 a year and let her live with us and fed her because that was what we could do and she was all in. So, I think as we got bigger and we started being able to offer more benefits, we started having these conversations with our team. Hey, I know that this other clinic is offering more money. Instead of giving you guys money, we're doing a 401k and we're doing health insurance, right? Or, but just trying to give value to the benefits that we do offer. And number one is paying a livable wage, right? If
Mhm.
you if your team has to have a second job or third job to make ends meet, then is that a livable wage? Now, you can argue some people will always spend and not be able to save, whether they're making 20,000 or 200,000. That's a whole different topic. But are you paying a livable wage for where you live, right? Like we live in New Hampshire. New England is expensive. Housing in New Hampshire is one of the most expensive in the country, which is really funny because we're in the middle of a forest. But, that's how it works. So I know how much rent is, how much it is to buy a house, and those types of things. So I think we first have to look at, right, are we showing appreciation in that we are paying our team a livable wage? Is this just a job like Dunkin' Donuts, Target, whatever, or is this a career? And if it's a career, then are we paying a livable wage? And then we start looking at benefits and stuff like that. But right, I have said this to people before. You can't just throw a gift basket at somebody and be like, well,
Mhm.
you better be grateful for this.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, they're just too exhausted to be grateful because they're working 3 jobs, right?
Yeah.
And it's something that we have to look at, back to what you were saying, it is a very complex issue. So I think as practice owners, we can do that, communicate better, here are our goals. Here's what we want to do with our financial goals, right? Like if we can increase profit by this much, this is what we want to do with it. Maybe some of it has to go back into equipment, but also some of it will go into paying for rewards. Maybe instead of getting bagels, we get Chipotle. Ooh, I mean, or whatever the team wants, ask them what they want. But I think that if you're honest and upfront about that as a practice owner, I think you get a lot more buy-in and you get your team to be a little bit more appreciative. And
Yeah.
on the other hand, if you feel like your needs aren't being met, are you just going to complain about it with your other team members? Or are you going to talk to the practice owner and say, hey, because some practice owners put their head in the sand and just don't want to see what's out there. So until you bring it to their attention, but complaining about it and saying, right, is this it? And being totally ungrateful, all that does is hurt people and it doesn't help build up your culture and your team.
I think so much of this problem, like when people are trying to do something to appreciate their team and it's not received in the way that they expect, or the team is feeling underappreciated, boils down to communication. Like, I think there is
Yeah.
so much that can be eliminated if you just communicate clearly with your team, like asking them what they want, asking them what would make them feel appreciated, what they need, and then also them telling you when they're not happy, like you were saying, and being comfortable enough to be able to speak up for themselves so you can have that clear communication. And as the practice owner, also, like making sure, I think a lot of times, like just touching on the benefits thing for a minute, I think sometimes my team doesn't even like fully realize all the things and what that looks like.
Mhm.
Just in the past, like probably like year and a half, we started making, which I'm like I really enjoy doing because I feel like it helps. We make this like breakdown summary sheet of
Yeah.
employee benefits that
Yeah.
has, their gross wages on it, but then it also includes all their bonuses, all their PTO and what that looks like, their pet
Yeah.
discounts, the IRA that we have with the match and what we've matched, what we cover, their health
Yeah.
insurance, the conferences we send them to, the CE we've provided. Like it kind of breaks down all of that stuff because I feel like if you don't talk about it, they're not going to remember
Mhm.
because it's just human
Right.
nature. And then they're going to focus on the hourly rate and the things that they like didn't get more
Yeah.
easily than you kind of making sure that you're having that clear communication of all the things that are included as part of working out your practice to help them feel more appreciated.
Yeah. And I just wonder like following up on that, like in practices the show a good degree of appreciation and reward and recognition is scored high and those kind of things. Like how many of those like practice manager buys the gift baskets, puts them out, it's a happy practice and they just come in and just effing revolt. They're like, this is ridiculous. Like, wow, like, you know, like everything is like we're having one-on-ones, like we're, to best point, like we're sending you to CE. We want to send you to CE. We know how much you love this. We want to do this. But tech week comes and it's like, and we don't get, not everybody gets a Maserati in the park, or whatever it is. But like I just think that's, goes to that point of like, are we setting that stage, with that and going along with communication? One of the things that we did, not exactly what Beth did, but sort of along those lines is I show them the pie chart, like of what, like, just so you guys know, like, you see what a client is paying. And then we would take like a $500 client bill and it's like, okay, 30% of that goes to the mortgage and the this and the that and the this and the this. And then, another thing goes to all the cost of goods, like all these drugs, like, in fact, that drug costs this and this, cause, and then, and staff costs and this, and then there's this much left over for, the guys who put all their money in, and started the clinics, to begin with.
Mhm.
And just so you know, those guys give a bunch of that back at the end of the year, because they think it's important. And so I think that, like, because if you don't, it's, we get up in our head and go, oh, we charge so, like, I mean, we literally had that happen when I was up in Michigan. Like somebody was like, we charge so much and we should get, I'm like, I'm happy to show you, like, this is the breakdown. Like, we're not like, no one's, you know, stealing money or anything like that. Like, but there's only so much that's in the, in the
Yeah.
pot.
And they always
And
forget operational costs, because that's
yeah,
always more expensive for
yeah,
that hidden piece. And then
yep,
so, like people are like, well, how should I price this out? And I'm like, well, it's this price plus, the percentage for overhead and operations.
yeah,
And that always takes people, I agree, Phil, that always kind of takes them off the boat. So I had to step away for a minute because of a staff having an emergency issue, which is a great
mhm,
conversation, right, to have this today because they all know I'm recording. And so when I get a phone call and I'm like, wait, why is that person calling me? Like they like instead of like
they
texting,
know,
I
yeah,
always pick up and I'm like, she's like, well, so in the you can't make this up column. This is what's happening,
yeah,
right?
right,
And she's had a lot of that out of her control lately. And I'm like, other things and communicating, and I'm catching up to the conversation here in dollars, amounts, and whatever.
yeah,
One of the things we do here, it's no questions asked. And I'm sure you guys are the three are the same way. If your family is having a medical emergency, if you're having a crisis of some sort that is not work related, our first response is go and tell us later you're okay. We'll pick up the pieces, right? And we don't even question it. We're just like, yep, see you later. And, we get things, I get things all the time from my team who are like, thank you for understanding and not yelling at me. And I'm like, why would I yell at you? Your father's having an emergency. Like, this is not, it's not even a question. Why would you even think you have to stay here? One, you're not even going to think straight because your head's with your family member, right? And why would like work seems like black and white at that point. It seems so meaningless when there's something else
yeah,
on the horizon that we're dealing with, right? And so it's the ebbs and flows, it's not the absolutes that
And I
also
think
matter.
though a lot of those interactions are what
are
build the
what,
trust with your
yeah,
team to
Mhm.
then help them feel appreciated too. Like all of this, which is why I was like, this is
mhm,
a complex
yeah,
conversation because
Right.
right,
that's what it all boils down to. Like and I don't want to belittle the whole starting point too, because there are definitely teams that I feel that I've heard stories where the practice owner and the leaders are doing it right and the people aren't appreciative. But there is probably more to it than that. Like,
hmm,
usually there's a breakdown. There are some people who are just assholes, and that's true. That
yeah,
is true in every walk of life. But
Right.
a lot of times I feel like there's more to it than that. And it's
Mhm.
the how you behave when they have an emergency, or what are the benefits and are they aware of them, or how are you treating
yeah,
them throughout the year, which is why, like, all four of us don't have this major problem, though there are times I have felt underappreciated for sure, or like my staff didn't appreciate what I do because nobody's perfect and everyone's human. But generally speaking, I feel like I have a pretty good rapport with my team because of all of the pieces of the puzzle that fit together
yeah,
to make sure that they feel appreciated so that they
yeah,
appreciate the little gestures as well as the big gestures.
yeah.
Well,
Right. And it's all the time.
to
It's
what you
not
guys
once
were
a week.
talking about with
Right.
regards to the money, right? Like you said, you have a
Hmm,
breakdown sheet, Beth, and you were talking about Phil, the pie chart, and Kelly, like how much do things actually cost overhead? When we look at, and so my husband was on the state vet board for 5 years, and I have another doctor who's on it right now. The complaints that come to the state vet board are very rarely negligence, like malicious acts, and it is almost always communication.
yeah,
And it is almost
120%,
always the client did not see the value in what was done. So
yeah,
they feel like they're getting ripped off. They feel like vets are in it for the money. So what do? We have treatment plans. We talk about this with the clients ahead of time so that they know what's expected. Maybe sometimes we have to really explain it so they understand. I had somebody earlier this week who said, well, I don't understand why you charge so much for such an easy procedure. It was a C-section.
Oh,
And I'm like,
Ha
I
ha,
know we
you're
work
so
fast,
funny.
right? I said, I understand that we're quick at it because we do. I think we talked about it yesterday. I think the most we've done in a day was 4 C-sections in one day. We do
Ooh,
a lot of C-sections,
That's a lot of
okay?
babies.
that's a lot of
Lots of
babies. Yeah.
babies. Like tubs. We had 2 St. Bernards like that got bred at the same time in the same household.
Oh
Both we
my
did C-section
God, are
both.
those
We
people
had a
insane?
27 puppies. I'm like,
Oh
this
my
is it.
God.
But anyways,
That's too
besides that,
many.
so yes, we
Yeah.
are quick. So
No, no, no.
sometimes when you're quick, clients don't understand the value. So I explained to this client, we would never ever call this easy, right? You have to keep the mom alive, who a lot of times there are some issues there. You have to wake up all of these babies that they're, and keep those alive so that you as the breeder can go turn around and sell them for a lot more than what we just charged
Yeah.
you for a C-section, right?
right.
So like, but sometimes I think we do things to what you said, Beth. People don't even know. They don't know all the
Mhm.
benefits. They don't know and they take it for granted.
Yeah.
And so, because we're not doing this treatment plan with them where we say, hey, I know you want more money. I know this little gift basket doesn't look like a lot, but let me explain all the things that you are getting and all of the things that we are doing on a regular basis to give it all value. And I think so many practice owners are afraid of talking about their finances.
Yeah.
And it's not like you have to sit down and say, well, this person makes this much and this person make like don't do that because that's going to start a huge different
That's
kind
a
of war.
whole nother problem.
Right. Right. But to sit there and say, this is how much it costs just to keep the clinic open for one shift, for one day, right? What's your overhead? How much do lights, heating, all of the just general wear and tear, all of that kind of stuff. Here's how much it costs. I just did my workers' comp audit, like they don't even know about how much workers' comp insurance costs. And I don't want to
And
know. But they don't know, even though we legally have to provide it, right? Like in the state of New Hampshire, we cannot be in business without workers' comp. But they don't understand how much that costs. They don't understand,
yeah.
right, all of these things. So if we're so afraid to talk about our finances, and this I think goes back to veterinarians a lot of times don't want to go over the treatment plan with the client because the client inevitably says, "Oh, it's that much," and my husband goes, "Oh, we can probably knock $500 off of that." No, 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 no. So now my husband's not allowed to go over treatment plans, and my certified vet techs do.
Yeah.
And they are the ones who understand because we've sat down with them and said, this is how much this C-section costs us. This is how much, if things go wrong, this is how much it costs us, and so they get an understanding of it and we remove
Yeah.
our doctors from it completely. So I
Yeah.
think to 2 points, one, become financially knowledgeable, and 2, make your team financially knowledgeable so that they understand the value.
And the last thing is that it's always easy to point the finger and go, they're always and we very much, one of the things we talk, and I got this from being in recovery, but is we harp on what part am I playing in this? And where I'm going with that is like when we start talking about, and we've squirreled a little bit, but it's still on the topic somewhat. But as far as like what people make, we did an experiment one time, and I said, okay, here are the tasks for the medical team. I want everybody to put what percentage of those tasks you think you do, and then what percentage you think everybody else does on a piece of paper. And we added it up and it was like 470%, or like it was like, okay, guess what? Like you got like this the math isn't mathing. So understand like you're all, and it's human nature, like you are going to overestimate what you're doing here, and we're going to let you know the great job that you're doing, but don't think that other people aren't doing, because it's always like, well, Becky's not doing this or Phil's not doing this or what. And again, it's like kids, yeah, but it's just understand, like having a realistic perception of what's going on. And so we found that too is really helpful, is gently, and we're not putting it all on them, but like if they don't have that skill, nothing I say is going to get through, because then it's like, oh, this person, they're just smoke and mirrors, or, or whatever. And it's like, if you don't trust me to share this with you, then it doesn't matter what I say, because you're just going to think that I'm a money grubbing, veterinarian. And same with clients. I mean, we have that same discussion with clients is, like, if you really think that, like, then I don't think we're the best practice for you. Like, because if you can't trust us, and I mean, we can question each other. That's part of this relationship. But if you fundamentally don't trust, like, if you think I'm trying to steal your money, and and I've gone through this, with you, I don't know how to get through that. And I don't think we're the place for you. And I know that's another whole nother discussion in
nother
A
school,
talk.
whole
but
nother one, but I
yeah,
think kind of what you guys are
a
all saying.
perception, just
Yeah, it's
perception is
perception, but it's
the
also
power of it. Yeah.
facts. Going
Yeah.
back to facts, take it out of emotion, or the emotion comes out of the facts, right? Like you kind of categorize them into
Mhm.
two different bits because the numbers don't lie on the P&L sheet. And those aren't emotional, those are just facts in black and white. This drug cost $100. Fact. That's the way it is, right? The electric bill is $200. Fact. That's the way it is. It's immovable. The electric company to this day won't say, well, we'll give you less because we like you. No, it's $200, right? That's the electric bill. That's what you get with. And I think everything here really helps um, figure out how to solve the problems. Um,
Can I say one more thing?
yeah, and then why don't you wrap it up for us, Jenny, too?
Okay.
Yeah, because Jenny and I are going to do the same talk almost at VMX. If you guys would like to attend,
Okay.
little
Ooh,
pit, little pitchy,
that was
little
a
pitchy
good plug
pitch.
there. No,
That
what
was
I was going to say
nice.
though is when I was talking to my practice manager who got the little baskets for the CSRs, and one of the CSRs literally was like, "This is what I get." I asked her, I said, "What did the other ones say?" And she
Yeah.
said, "Oh, they said thank you." We tend, and Beth, you said it,
I was
like,
going to make this point too. I'm glad
Yep.
you're making it.
yes. I think that we tend to, and we do this all the time, right? You see 50 clients in a day, one is just nasty and complains, and you don't like them, and that's the one you take home with you. And that's the one that keeps you up at night. But the reality of it is, if one person complains, but your other 20, 30, 40, 50 team members all said thank you, or maybe didn't say thank you but didn't complain, then maybe it wasn't that bad. And so I think too, to what we're talking about, it goes both sides. One, be kind when somebody does something nice for you, even if, they're giving you a, I don't know, shower steamer and you only have a tub. I don't know where that came from. But,
It's
even
random. I
if
like it.
they're getting you something, maybe a Dunkin' Donuts card, but you're really a Starbucks person. Okay, whatever. Still say thank you. It's a kind gesture. It's coming from a place of kindness. It's not, they did still take a moment to remember you and get you something, right? On the other hand, don't have expectations of, oh, you're going to get, oh my gosh, this was the most amazing thing I've ever gotten in my life, thank you so much, this is so wonderful, because you're probably not going to get that either.
Right.
And don't let the bah humbug Eeyores of the world bring you down, right? Focus on the Tiggers, the ones that are happy. Don't focus on the ones that are like, oh, this is it. If one person says that, we have to get better at letting that go and not letting those voices circle around in our head. So, okay, if I'm wrapping us up, I guess this is a very
Oh,
big
I thought you
topic.
said.
We probably could do a lot more, like the next
Good
5
luck.
episodes. But be kind, show gratitude, also take care of your team on a daily basis, not just 1 week out of the year.
Yep.
Yes.
And it'll all be better.
That's good. That's a
That's
good
good.
summary.
That's good. It's good. And with
Yes,
that, we
golf
will
clap.
say adieu.
A round of applause.
A doo doo.
Yes,
Oh,
and we
just one
will all
do. Just
catch
Adieu.
one
you
do.
next week
One
on
do.
Unfiltered Vet
Undo.
Sessions.
Jeez.